In our news headlines for this evening, National Geographic and Pristine Seas are assisting Niue with comprehensive research of Niue's marine resources and an expedition to Beveridge Reef. Ridge to Reef project was officially launched for the conservation and enhancement of the ecosystem. A PhD student from Otago University is conducting research towards her thesis based on the impacts of social media on youth and the Niuean community. The Alofu North community paid tribute to soldiers who went to the World War I as part of their annual showing last Saturday. National Geographic's Pristine Seas team will be assisting with research that will provide scientific evidence for government to base decisions for planning the sustainable use of Niue's marine resources. Yesterday, a research vessel arrived to take the team on an expedition that will use a variety of observation and sampling techniques to explore the remote areas of Niue's waters, like Beveridge Reef. The expedition has taken a fair amount of planning and negotiations between government and counterparts from a number of projects with similar objectives.
We built this into one component of the Ridge to Reef project. In addition to that, we were also working together with Tofia Niue and developing a NOW project to look at something very similar. And it just happened that both projects were approved and subsequently signed. And now we have the resources. And through the NOW project and Oceans 5, their network of donors and collaborators were able to pull together this input from Pristine Seas and National Geographic.
We caught up with the National Geographic team while they were preparing all the equipment before heading out to sea, and we spoke with their charismatic leader to find out a bit more about the expedition.
We're here on Niue to work with the Niue government and the whole of the Niue community to see what's going on in these waters, because we know a fair bit about it. We've certainly had a lot of fun, and it's been very exciting and impressive understanding how much you know about your waters and also your future plans. You know, we're very excited about your future plans for the sea. You know exactly where you're going, exactly how to do it, and we're here to help fill in some of the missing gaps that you need. We've got a team of scientists and cameramen so we can do complete comprehensive survey of Niue and Beveridge and the seamounts in between and all the other interesting areas. And we've got a big team of filmmakers here so we can actually record it as well. So we're here to sort of help Niue community and government fill in the gaps to look at what to do with the Niue Ocean in the future. And the big thing I've learned in my few days on Niue is how oceanic you people are. It's a great feeling. It's like a model for the rest of the world. So we're delighted to be here and be part of it.
The limited information about Beveridge Reef, a submerged atoll that has not yet undergone a thorough scientific survey, but has a significant array of marine life due to its isolation and remoteness.
Well, it takes us 12 hours to get to Beveridge. It's 120 nautical miles. We do about 10 knots, so we take overnight. So our plan is to work Niue, and we've just looked at the weather, actually, and it looks as if we'll work the Niue region until about Saturday. We'll go south, and then we'll very quickly get onto the windward side, because it's calm over there. And there's a big gap in some of the data on the windward side, obviously, because it's harder to work on the windward side. And then we'll come around the north. The reason we'll do the north last is that there's a bit of a low pressure coming up from the south towards the end of the week. So we'll take advantage of the current weather and go that way around the island. We'll get back here on Saturday, Friday night or Saturday, and then we'll depart for Beveridge overnight, Friday night or Saturday night. We'll spend approximately 6 or 7 days at Beveridge. We hope to anchor inside the reef, and then as well as working the easy, calm lagoon, we're going to mostly work the more exposed outer waters of Beveridge. Then come back, and we also have to remember somehow to fit in with some very key seamounts, which are very important points for us. And then we come back here, finish up the local work, and then we have a community reception that we're hosting for everybody, and we're going to show our film, discuss our work, provide food and drink, and that is on the 10th of October. We've beaten the record for the most amount of gear He's seen on board, yeah. We've got a lot of scuba diving gear because we're all going to be scuba diving. So, of course, there's diving cylinders and personal dive gear and all the rest that goes with that. And we've got 4 boats to help in support of all the scuba diving. We've got cameras that we call pelagic cameras that drift about in midwater, sort of 20 metres deep, and now filming all the fish that are in the pelagic regions, they're called, between the top and the bottom. And then we've got cameras that we drop all the way to the bottom. These are called our drop cameras, and they've been to the very bottom of the deepest parts of the ocean and back. And these are cameras that we send all the way to the bottom, and they record the life that's going on down there. And then we've got these other little cameras. We're going to set 50 of them at Beveridge and 50 of them here at Niue, and we just recover them, and they go down and film everything for a few hours each day on their own. And then we've got a drone, so we can do aerial filming, and topside cameras, and then we've got all the underwater film camera gear as well. And then we've got some tags, so we can tag some sharks. And then we've got some other scientific gear so that we can take water samples and see how much plastic is in that water, and also sand samples so we can look.
Alan Friedlander is the chief scientist for National Geographic and a professor at the University of Hawaii who has worked extensively in the Pacific since the early 1980s.
I coordinate all the science for this expedition. Pristine Seas is trying to seek out the last wild places in the ocean and study them through science, through compelling media, and inspire global leaders to protect these last wild places. So we've had 18 expeditions to date, and I've been on every single one of them, from the deep South Pacific, from Rapa Nui, Rapa Iti, New Caledonia, to the far northern Russian Arctic. So we've been every place in between, and in the last wild places in the Indian Ocean, Atlantic. It's been an amazing, amazing ride. So we're really excited to be here. There's a fair amount known about the nearshore areas around Niue, but not very much known about the deep water. So we come to these expeditions, and I coordinate all the science. So as Paul described, there's a lot of moving parts. We're doing shallow water scuba surveys. We're doing deep water drop cameras, these midwater open ocean cameras. We're collecting all kinds of things. We've got all these remote sensing techniques. And so my job is to put all this together and do a complete comprehensive survey. So it will be the first time ever surveying Niue from shallow all the way to the deepest, deepest depths. And more exciting for me and for all of us is to go to Beveridge Reef, because there's so little known about Beveridge, and it's a bit of a mystery. There's been a few people there, but again, we're going to do a comprehensive survey from the shallow waters of the lagoon all the way down to thousands of meters, using all different types of technologies, everything from scuba divers to camera. For most of the expeditions, we've done a final report, and as Paul mentioned, at the end of this expedition, we're going to do a very quick summary of what we did, but then we hope to come back later with a more comprehensive summary of all the results. And in addition to that, we'll have a complete report and a film, more importantly, which should be spectacular and should be very exciting. There's the Pristine Seas website that shows all of the previous expeditions that we've done. And so there's been previous documentaries done in most of these places, scientific reports, scientific publications in the literature. And so, and there's all things on YouTube and multimedia. So it's complicated, but yet some of it's pretty basic, sticking your head in the water, swimming around, counting things and so forth, doing some basic collecting, to some of the more high-tech things, some of the deep-sea drop cameras. But
3 local fisheries officers will also be part of this expedition, and this follows a series of training sessions with a specialist from SBC.
We've been working with Noah and Nadia and also Fia and James here. So we've been working on different survey technique, which involves invertebrate surveys and finfish surveys. So it's surveys that allow us to assess the state of the coastal fisheries here. That's what I'm doing at SPC, Coastal Fisheries Science and Management. And, well, we've been practicing on those survey and starting doing the real one as well on the reef. We're really looking forward to head to Beveridge Reef, because everybody has been talking about it in the last few days, and really hoping to be able to do as much work as possible to have a comparison in between Beveridge and Niue and see how the resources are up there and if they can help replenish the stocks over here. or if they could, if there was impact on the fisheries here.
We're really grateful that we're going to be documenting this by National Geographic. Also, Niue will receive some of the footage. We've requested that for Niue to use in future for whatever purposes that we need it for, awareness, education, marketing of Niue as a pristine environment.
The first part of the expedition will involve research around the island until Friday, before heading out to Beveridge on Saturday for about a week. The collaboration with National Geographic will help clarify the mystery behind Beveridge Reef and share a story about Niue's marine environment. Niue's Ridge to Reef project was officially launched in Suapa on Thursday afternoon as the final side event for the spread meeting. The project that looks at the application of the Ridge to Reef concept for biodiversity conservation and for the enhancement of ecosystem services and cultural heritage in Niue. Whalepipi Hall was the venue for the launch of the project that has been in the pipeline for the past 4 years. Documents were signed in April of this year, and the launch signifies a major milestone for Ridge to Reef. According to the project manager, Dr. Josie Tamati, two of the main project outcomes looks at the development of the new community conservation and protected areas to reduce threats and improve biodiversity status.
This is a nationally implemented project. Unlike other projects, the funding comes to Niue. We go through our system. We recruit our staff, and it's under the government of Niue through the Niue Public Service Commission under the government of Niue contract terms of employment. So everything is coming to Niue. We work in partnership with UNDP. Next first work they do for us, we have to report on the first quarter of the work that we've been doing. People say, where's the money? The money's already here. Without this assistance, we wouldn't be having our launch. This is all part of our promotion and raising awareness for and a profile of our project.
In addition, it also looks at strengthening community and cross-sectoral involvement of relevant national government departments to promote effective ridge to reef management by mainstreaming biodiversity and environmental concerns into plans. The project is making steady progress with the development of a logo, the production of a three-dimensional model of the township of Alofi that is a visual and tangible representation that also takes into account some of the traditional knowledge.
The next step is to make sure that we have a solid team. We have all our team in place. Then we can start implementing the things that we have agreed in at the Inception Workshop and that we have stated in our project document. So this is only the beginning. We've got 5 years ahead of us. There'll be surveys, there'll be community engagement, there'll be looking at building our institutional strengthening in terms of having a database on environmental services. So it's going to be a full-on implementation of the project.
The Ridge to Reef project is going through a recruitment process to finalise their team, who will be leading the project for the next 3 to 5 years. A PhD student from Otago University is doing research on the island to find out how social media and digital technology is changing or impacting the lives of young people and Niuean community. Since the development of the internet and evolution of digital technology, this has changed the way people communicate.
It's changing everyone's lives around the world, right? But most of the research is based in Western developed countries, and that's quite a different thing. So I'm just interested in if people are happy to share that with me, to see how it's evolving and changing, for good and for bad. Some people see that it even goes as far as changing the socioeconomic, what's happening on the island, because they'll say, kids are spending time indoors on their laptops and they should be out helping their families. So there's that sort of tension there, which is, and there's also the point that the kids can now have quite private communications, whereas I grew up certainly with one phone in the hallway. Mum and Dad could hear everything I said. They knew who I was talking to. But when you're texting and when you're on Facebook, that can be quite a private space. So there's worries about that, but then people also see advantages. It opens up the world to people. It can deepen their relationships, and some people. One person has said to me that they think perhaps in the future it could mean that more young people come back because they can work here, or they can work back from another country but live in Niue or something. Be working for Niue but still have that contact.
A year into her PhD thesis, the process has not been without its own challenges. But this is part of the research and what the outcomes are from conversations with people. Nicola says part of the reason she decided to base her thesis research on Niue was because she grew up knowing Niueans in the Presbyterian Church in Newton, and the fact Niue is quite isolated. Coming from a Western background, she is using Pacifica methodologies to collect information.
I'm using Talanoa methodology, so that's a Pacifica methodology that I've looked into quite a lot, and it's really just about having conversations with people. It's led by the participants, so I'm not going to ask anything that they don't want to answer. They lead the conversation, and it goes where it goes. So that's a good way of getting information and developing a relationship with people, which is what it's all about, really. So I'm making several trips. I mean, I'd love to come and move here for 6 months and do it, but I can't because I've got my own teenagers at home. Have to watch what they're doing on social media. And when I come, and the idea is that I will keep consulting, keep coming back to the people who are supportive here and saying, what do you think about this? It's not kind of my ideas. It's the idea is to have everyone's ideas. What do you think about this?
This research is ongoing, and Nicola will be making several trips back to the island to gather information that will help shape the basis of her thesis. The hope is to return and share her findings that may inspire others to do more research in Niue. The atmosphere at Paliasi over the weekend was one of joy and remembrance as Alofi North hosted their annual Village Show Day. This year, the village decided on the theme in remembrance of the 150 Niuean soldiers who departed for World War I. Out of respect for the fallen heroes, the Alofi North women were able to wear the symbolic poppy as a sign of respect. According to the chairperson of the Alofi North Village Council, Tutuli Heka, he was thankful for the support shown by the community and very happy with the outcome of their show day for this year. Mr. Alentano Pugliosi, who is a village councillor, but also Alofi North representative that travelled with the Returned Servicemen's Association group who travelled to France for the 100th anniversary of the Battle of the Somme. He was able to speak about his experience and how emotional it was when the team visited the graves of the Niue soldiers that were buried in France. There was an abundance of fresh produce displayed, but especially yams and taros, and the day continued with entertainment from the village people, but especially from the women and the youth of the village. That is our news bulletin that we have for you for this evening. We do hope you can join us again for our next news bulletin on Thursday.